So the White House was tweeting this out today. A very American Christmas comeback story. Christmas tree, American flag, how America is back, Christmas story, right? And it uses AI images of Trump and JD Vance, as they're still not releasing the Epstein files. And Vance gave this whacked out, bizarre speech, which I'll go over a little bit. I also want to show you this because people are pushing back against these clowns. Paul says, if you keep acting like a banana republic, eventually you become one. And this is in reference to Donald Trump putting his name on the Kennedy Center. Did that recently. Saturday Night Live was making fun of Trump. You may not saw this, but basically Trump didn't do nothing bad. That's the Trump and SNL version of him, which is sadly not so far from the truth, the same way that South Park feels like a documentary these days. You got to see this. This is also a funny one. This is from Natalie. Natalie says, me filing my taxes next year. It's going to block out everything, right? Redact everything. And in fact, this is the defense that the Trump people were trying to make in not releasing the full files, and in fact, removing some of the stuff that they previously released. Listen to this.
I want to follow up with you on what you just said. You were referencing the 15 files released Friday. They disappeared from DOJ's website yesterday, including this photo of what looks like a desk with a drawer open containing photos of Donald Trump.
You can actually see in the photo, yeah, there's a Trump photo on top there. And there's a lot in there. So a ton of photos in the desk. There's a bunch of documents there. And I mean, clearly there's evidence there. And why would you redact this one now that we've seen it? And listen to what they say here.
Just to be very clear, to put a fine point on it, why were these files taken down? You're saying it was at the direction of a judge?
Well, you can see in that photo, there's photographs of women. And so we learned after releasing that photograph that there were concerns about those women and the fact that we had put that photo up. So we pulled that photo down. It has nothing to do with President Trump. There are dozens of photos of President Trump already released to the public, seeing him.
So first he's dodging the question because I think she asked, was this an order of a judge? You know, he acknowledges that they took it down, and now he's saying, well, it's not because of Trump, and then he'll go on and give this explanation. So listen to more.
With Mr. Epstein. He has said that in the 90s and early 2000s, he socialized with him. So the absurdity of us pulling down a photo, a single photo, because President Trump was in it, is laughable. And the fact that everybody's trying to act like that's the case is a reflection of their true motivation. But the reality is anybody, any victim, any victim's lawyers, any victim rights group can reach out to us and say, hey, Department of Justice, there's a document, there's a photo, there's something within the Epstein files that identifies me, and we will then, of course, pull that off and investigate it.
Are you saying that one or more of the women in one of the photos or several of the photos is a victim or a survivor of Jeffrey Epstein, and that's why you took those files down, and will they be put back up?
No, that's not what I'm saying. We, of course, if we knew that, if we believed that photograph contained a.
Okay, so this doesn't make sense. So the first question was, did you take down the photo because of a judge? He doesn't answer that. And then he kind of implies that we took it down because of a request of maybe some of the victims. And then she asks, okay, so did someone request that? Which I think is a reasonable question. And then he's shaking the head, no. So none of it really adds up. And you can see more what he has to say.
Survivor, we wouldn't have put it up in the first place without redacting the faces. But notwithstanding what we believe, we don't have perfect information. And so when we hear from victims' rights groups about this type of photograph, we pull it down and investigate. We're still investigating that photo. The photo will go back up, and the only question is whether there will be redactions on the photo. And of course, if there are survivors in any of the photos, we will redact them as Congress expects us to do, as President Trump expects us to do, and as the Attorney General and Director Patel have directed the department to do.
Okay.
Yeah, it doesn't add up for me. Take a look at what Senator Rand Paul has to say about this stuff.
Rand Paul of Kentucky. Senator Paul, let me begin with the Epstein files. Your Kentucky colleague, Thomas Massie, obviously was the force that forced this release. He is saying that the Attorney General is violating the law and could, in fact, eventually be prosecuted for doing so. What's your reaction to this partial release?
You know, I've supported transparency on the Epstein files from the beginning. I've voted repeatedly to release them. I think it's a good idea. I think that trust in government is at a low ebb, and that people need to trust that justice is the same whether you're rich or poor. And people tend to believe that some rich people got off scot-free in the Epstein case, in the Epstein files. So I think it all should be released. I think it's a big mistake. I mean, look, the administration has struggled for months and months with something they initially ginned up and then sort of tried to tamp down. So any evidence or any kind of indication that there's not a full reveal on this will just plague them for months and months more. So my suggestion would be give up all the information, release it. You know, what's going to happen to people if they don't, that will play out over time. But my suggestion to them is be transparent and release everything the law requires of you.
And my feeling on this is if there were, you know, nothing against Trump or anything damning against his donors, because I think it could be either Trump or his donors or whoever, they would just release everything. I mean, like, what's the holdup here, right? And that's why the questions become really important when she's asked, like, okay, was it a victim that requested you to take said thing down? Was it a judge? It just feels like cover up the more and more this stuff goes on. I think it's pretty obvious that we're all watching it. And they're even asking questions now, are we going to perhaps impeach or prosecute in some way Pam Bondi? I think this thing is going to continue. I agree with Rand Paul on this one, and we'll keep track of this stuff because people can see, you know, the truth on these things. Also, this is what I was mentioning with JD Vance. They show you who they are on a daily basis. He's given a speech at Turning Point, and it's interesting because the first day of this thing that we saw was basically all these, you know, was it like Tucker Carlson and Ben Shapiro and the Candace Owen person, and, you know, the list goes on, all attacking each other. I showed you guys in the prior video. Today, they seem to bringing up all the politicians and telling you what they tell you. So this is Vance then. And if someone makes a joke here, Aiden says, "You're telling me I've been apologizing all this time for no reason?" And Vance said, "In the United States of America, you don't have to apologize for being white anymore." So he's going after a particular type of audience, right? You can hear it right here.
In the United States of America, you don't have to apologize for being white anymore.
Right, so that kind of stuff. Someone else made a joke here. Denver says, "Everyone that knows history knows you. Do not accept this white nationalist claptrap. His whole speech is targeted for incels, the illiterate, and those who hate themselves and our country." And I also want to show you this. Someone writes, "This is racist." And in fact, I guess Vance was attacking Jasmine Crockett here. You can hear a little bit of this.
Oh, Jasmine Crockett. The record speaks for itself. She wants to be a senator, though her street girl persona is about as real as her nails.
And so basically he's just attacking someone based on their appearance. And, yeah, you know, I don't want to spend too much on that, but you get the idea who these people are. Let's make it really clear. Here's another one. Susie Wiles calling JD Vance a conspiracy theorist checks out. And basically JD goes on and on how he, you know, spends weeks and weeks looking for whatever conspiracy theory. It's kind of weird, but that's who Vance is, and that's who these people are. And then the last thing, which is really interesting here, this is Mike Johnson talking about how if they lose, perhaps Trump will get impeached. Look at this.
Everything, as has been said here, everything is on the line in the midterms of 2026, and we have much more to do. But if we lose the House majority, the radical left, as you've already heard, is going to impeach President Trump. They're going to create absolute chaos. We cannot let that happen. And
the one thing that I really noticed about the second day, and it was something that I was thinking about with the first day, is all the people were saying this event is supposed to be for young people, right? It's supposed to be inspiring young people, et cetera. And it's weird that they roll out all these, you know, old crusty politicians talking this kind of way. It's the same thing as say where Trump comes out and gives a speech and he just spends the whole time talking about themselves and, you know, attacking his political opponents, et cetera. I find this whole thing bizarre, but there's a lot of stuff about this stuff bizarre. I just wanted to point that out. And I think there's a real vacuum of leadership, at that part of the political spectrum. And hopefully people will realize, man, these people are all clowns and ridiculous. Sure, the stuff that JD Vance is saying is going to appeal to a certain segment of the population, but that's a very small part of the USA. And I think essentially they're on their last, I want to say it like, well, to say this, there's not that many people who think in this way anymore, and this is their last chance, and Trump represents the end of an era. That's how I see it. Vance will try to pick up the mantle as Erica Kirk's trying to push him out to the people, but I don't see it happening. I mean, I just think it's obvious who these people are, and I think a lot of people are going to reject it. So that's my thoughts on this. I'd like to hear yours, and I'll catch you all in the next video.